Fighting for Faith and Nation, Dialogues with Sikh Militants, by Cynthia Kepply Mahmood. A Saint Soldier. Mark Juergensmeyer suggests the term religious nationalism, as a descriptor of the many politicized religious revival movements across the globe. Militant Islam is prominent, in its myriad forms from North Africa to the Middle East, to Central Asia to the Pacific, but other movements include the Hindu revitalization now being expressed in India, the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalism in Sri Lanka, the right-wing Jewish militancy in Israel and the West, and more. Though not all the movements that entangle religion and politics aim at the creation of a state, e.g., the U.S. Christian variety, enough of them seek to either establish or transform one that the term religious nationalism is a fortunate one. It has the crucial advantage of being more effectively neutral than fundamentalism, with its connotations of backwardness, intolerance, and zealotry. Juergensmeyer notes in The New Cold War, religious nationalism confronts the secular state, that the religious activists with whom he speaks in various parts of the world, are politically astute and deeply concerned about the society in which they live. Devout they may be, but they are not necessarily anti-modern, intolerant of others, or bent on converting everybody else to their particular brand of belief. The West is scared to death of religion, one Sikh commented at a recent seminar. This refrain echoes throughout Juergensmeyer's work, in which the West's determination to keep church and state separate, is silhouetted against a global backdrop of buoyant movements of religious nationalism. Though he may carry this theme too far in calling the global confrontation between religious nationalism and the secular state, the New Cold War, it is clear that there is a deep rift between the worldviews of most Westerners, and that of religious nationalists like Khomeini or Kahane. This rift is exacerbated by the fact that very few people in the West have occasion to sit down and talk with the likes of Khomeini or Kahane, and are dependent on the media coverage that naturally emphasizes dramatic acts of violence over conciliatory dialogue. There is in fact a large common ground between secular and religious kinds of nationalism, though differences cannot be swept aside. I found in my long talks with Sikhs, that some of the most interesting and enlightened of them were also the most religious. One Granthi, or scripture reader in particular, was an archetypical fundamentalist, in that his education was primarily religious in nature, he was a strict Puritan in terms of day-to-day ethics, and he brooked no challenges to orthodox readings of the Sikh scriptures. But he also had quite a universalist and pragmatic understanding of what Sikhism was, and what a Sikh state could be. His story is interesting not only because of his intelligence and eloquence, which he expressed in fluent English, but because he had grown up with Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwala, essentially the founder of the Khalistani militancy. I met him early in my research, and I remember the conversation that took place between us vividly. It shows both the potential for real interaction with religious nationalists, as well as some of the problematic differences between this way of thinking and our own. The Moving University. My name is Iqbal Singh, he began our interview session, from Amritsar. I was born in December 1962. My family background was not very religious. My father and mother were Sikhs, but they would go to the Gurudwara only about once a month. But my elder brother decided to go and learn more about Sikhism. We have a school of Sikh theology called Damdami Taksal, which is in Bhattinder district. He went and studied there. How did you feel when he made the decision to go? I asked. I was too young to feel anything. I was only 6 years old when he went there. But we were very comfortable financially, so I couldn't understand why he decided to go on that path. Anyway, after spending 6 or 7 years there, he moved to Bombay to start his career as a Granthi in a Gurudwara. I was then in 7th grade. He called up my parents and said that I should learn Gurmat, or Sikh religious teachings. He was not making any money, but he said he felt mentally satisfied, and he wanted me to feel the same. I still have the letter that he wrote to me at that time. Iqbal, he said, I meet so many doctors, engineers, and other rich people, but I don't see any peace of mind anywhere. I see myself with my 400 rupees a month, and I feel very comfortable because at least I have peace of mind. I don't want you to become a doctor or an engineer. If you really want a happy life, then go into this profession. Well, my parents resisted. They were not happy. But they eventually listened to my brother and they sent me to Damdami Taksal. I was only 11 years old. Just listening to your parents, really, I commented. Right. When you are living in a village and your parents are deciding to send you to a city, you are excited no matter what that is. I was excited to go. Especially to avoid housework. The young Granthi laughed when he said this. Tell me what it was like there, I requested. What were your first few days like? It was not really that good. After spending 1 month I called my parents up and I said, I don't want to stay. Why not? I asked. Because it was a totally different atmosphere. At my home we used to get up around 8 or 9, according to our school time. But at the Damdami Taksal, there is a discipline that you have to get up early in the morning for meditation, Nam Simran, or the repetition of the divine name. That discipline was painful. I was not used to it. I called my parents up and my brother came and got me. What about the other boys there with you? What were they like? They were okay. But I was only 11 years old and I had no friends there. I had never been away from my parents, my 5 brothers, and 2 sisters. So after that first month I gave up and went home. But after 2 weeks I decided to go back again. After you were waking up at 8 instead of 4, you decided it wasn't really so bad. The Granthi was smiling as he recounted his story, so I warmed up to him naturally. He laughed easily and beautifully. Amarjit, sitting off to one side, told me that at that time, 1974, the leader of the Damdami Taksal was Sant Karta Singh Bindranwala. Sant Jarnail Singh Bindranwala, who was later to die in the attack on the Golden Temple complex, was a student there then. Yes, Sant Karta Singh Ji Khalsa was the head of Damdami Taksal, my interlocutor continued. Ji is used in the name as an indicator of respect. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was a student. He was studying there, like me. At that time, did you know Sant Jarnail Singh? We were just friends. We did not then have any picture in our minds that he was going to be the next head of Damdami Taksal and a great leader. It was very enjoyable, our friendship. We lived like brothers. Did you all sleep in a dormitory? Actually there are 2 sections of Damdami Taksal. One is in the headquarters in Maida, district Amritsar. Those people who specifically learn harmonium, baja, and tabla, the musical instruments used in kirtan, hymn singing, they would stay in that headquarters. Those who wanted to learn speech and interpretation of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they would travel with Sant Ji wherever he would go. I was with that group. The whole year long we would stay 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, 2 weeks in the next town, and so on. We were always on the road. Amarjit interrupted. That's why they call it the moving university of the Sikhs. Yes, the moving university, the Granthi assented. We had 2 buses and 1 truck and we always went around in those. Were they all boys? I queried, always on the lookout for gender issues. All boys. I was the youngest at the time, of all those in the moving university. Did you study other subjects too? Or just religion? Just religion. Well, we also covered things like Sanskrit, some history like the rule of Charnakya, and so on. But strictly speaking it all had to do with religion. He continued his narrative. I spent 7 years there at Damdami Taksal. In 1977, Sant Karta Singh Ji, the head of the institution, unfortunately died in a car accident. So after that, Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was chosen as head of Damdami Taksal. How old was he then? Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was then 31 years old. When you say he was chosen, what do you mean? What is the process of being chosen? Actually that was during the emergency in India, you know about the history of that, imposed by Indira Gandhi. Well, Sant Karta Singh Ji opposed that. He was so against it. So he knew that he could be arrested at any time, and that the Indian government might kill him. One time he was in front of the congregation at Gurudwara Bir Baba Buddhaji, district Amritsar. I know because I was on the stage with him at the time. He announced that if somehow he died, Baba Tarkar Singh should be the next head of the Taxal. But after the car accident, he did not have time to say anything more. Baba Tarkar Singh had the right though to choose to appoint somebody else who could lead. Amarjit added, that Baba Tarkar Singh is the acting head of Damdami Taxal now. That was because Sant Karta Singh had given him the authority, the Granthi contributed. I was curious. Are they still functioning in the same way, roving around Punjab? The Granthi and Amarjit both nodded. I decided to try to pursue more theoretical concerns. Let me just back up a minute. In that time, before Sant Jarnail Singh became head, was there talk about politics among the students at Damdami Taxal? The Granthi thought carefully, then spoke slowly. I don't differentiate what politics is, and what religion is. It is a way of life for us. When someone disrupts your way of life and you try to stop him, for that person it becomes politics. For me it is not politics, it is just a way of life. When someone disturbs the way I want to live, and the Indian government wants me to do it another way, then it becomes politics for them. But not for me. I just have my way of life. I may have to fight for the right to live it that way, but I don't call it politics. Anyway, already during the emergency years, Damdami Taxal was like a thorn in the side of the Indian government, because its head protested emergency measures. Yes, they were really after us all because of that. And everybody agreed, not just the head of Damdami Taxal but all the people within, they all felt the same about it. Exactly. There were many protests conducted by Damdami Taxal during the emergency. Amarjit added that there were in fact dozens of protest demonstrations led by Sant Karta Singh. When I asked whether these were all peaceful demonstrations, both asserted that they were. Was anybody talking about Khalistan at that time? I asked. No, there was no talk of anything called Khalistan back then. The question was why the civil liberties of the people were being taken away. But of course that is the real foundation for Khalistan, when it becomes clear that you are not being allowed to live the way you want in India. And Sant Karta Singh was a very charismatic person, Amarjit chimed in. Yes, he was, agreed Iqbal Singh. He was a great man. I feel proud of those 3 years I spent with him. He used to wash our hair like we were his sons. I can still remember the feeling of his hands in my hair, though I was only 11 years old. I reaffirmed, he was like a father to you. In this kind of reaffirmation of what somebody said, which I found myself doing often, I felt like a psychotherapist. What did you call him? I asked. I called him Babaji, or father, and he used to call me Betaji, child, or various other terms of endearment. Was he married? Did he have a family? Yes. In fact his son, Bhai Singh, was a prominent figure in the movement. I felt the little internal click that comes when you realize you have made an important connection. Bhai Singh was the head of the Sikh Students' Federation and Bhindranwala's right-hand man during the occupation of the Golden Temple complex. He was martyred in the 1984 assault. Oh, that was his son, was in the event all I thought to ask. Yes, and I knew his wife and younger son too. How old were you then, when Sant Jarnail Singh became head? I was 18 years old. When he became head, did things change? Not in political terms. It was just the same way. The Indian government thought that maybe although they could not stop Sant Karta Singh Ji, maybe Sant Jarnail Singh Ji would be weaker. That was not the case. Amarjit then interrupted with a significant point. Cynthia, he said, let me tell you that Sant Karta Singh's death in an accident was not a natural one. There was something behind it. Do you believe that? I asked the Granthi. He thought a moment, then said quietly, yes, it is a known fact that there was a conspiracy. It was never officially investigated. I tried to prompt. It's unfortunate, but no one took care of that, he said. Amarjit took over this line of thought. Sant Karta Singh had been giving indications that he thought something was going wrong. He kept telling Sant Jarnail Singh that. Iqbal Singh interrupted to continue the story himself. As a mystic person, Sant Karta Singh Ji was really a saint. I think he knew. One time we were sitting in a village, Mulsihan, in district Jalandhar, and Jarnail Singh Ji was not a regular student at that time like we were. He had responsibilities by that time, 2 sons and a wife, and he had to take care of them. He would come, stay a month, go back, and so on like that. That day when we were ready to leave for our next destination, Sant Jarnail Singh Ji came to Sant Karta Singh Ji and said, allow me to go now. I have to go. Sant Karta Singh Ji said, why are you going? You will be coming back. No one understood what he meant. But Sant Jarnail Singh Ji must have thought something. He did so much Nam Simran, so much meditation, 20 hours out of 24 he was in meditation. He really worked hard, and he had great spiritual powers. Anyway, he went back to his village and the rest of us went on to Solan in the hills. When Sant Jarnail Singh Ji heard then, what happened to Sant Karta Singh Ji in his absence, he felt so bad. He spent all his time then in the hospital with the injured Karta Singh. For 13 days Sant Karta Singh was in the hospital. When the accident happened, I mean. He kept asking for a pen and a paper, but no one gave him any. He couldn't speak. I inquired. No, he couldn't speak because he had severe damage to his chest, and his ear was cut off totally. The first question he asked was about the 5 articles of faith. I was in that bus, that same bus in which Santji was taken to the hospital, so I was standing by when this happened. He made sure about his kashera, kirpan, and all. Then he touched his head and discovered his comb was missing. Somebody realized that Santji had no comb and gave him one, and he was reassured by that. He continued. After some minutes Sant Karta Singh Ji wanted to write something down, but he couldn't speak. He kept making a movement with his hand, like this. Iqbal Singh demonstrated a pantomime of writing. If I could understand that he was asking for a pen and paper, why not the others standing by? No one gave him a pen and paper. No one gave him any. After a while he asked again in the same way, but again no one gave him a pen or paper. And you think that people didn't give him pen and paper on purpose? I think so. It was a big topic of discussion after his death. He wanted to tell something, but was not provided the means to do so. Then later on he was cremated. I asked. Yes. He was cremated at Mehta Sahib, the headquarters of Damdami Taxal. He had died in Ludhiana, but was brought to Mehta Sahib for the sanskar, or cremation ceremony of the Sikhs. At that time the doctor who had treated Sant Karta Singh Ji said something really interesting. That doctor was a Christian, and told how he had explained to Santji that he had to remove the hair of his head and chest for surgery. Santji said, you can cut my head off, but don't touch my hair. That's how devout he was. And he never complained that he had any pain. The doctor said, what kind of person is this? And he said, if I can make Santji survive I will see that Jesus has survived. He thought Santji was so spiritually strong, he was like Jesus. After his death the body was cremated, and Sant Jarnail Singh Ji started as master of Damdami Taxal. We started our journeying again, going around to villages in Punjab, to Bombay, to Calcutta, and so on. We continued with the moving university. Jarnail Singh Bindranwala. Was it odd for you that you used to have Sant Jarnail Singh as just your friend, and then he was suddenly in a high position like that. No. We understood that he was now the head. And friendship is, well, the friendship was of course still there. But we now showed greater respect to him because of his position. He went on. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was not really very different as head of Damdami Taksal. He was just like he always was. He had a great peace of mind before he attained this position and after. He used to come to our rooms in the dormitory and we would laugh and laugh. He would ask about our troubles and problems and help us with them. He was so strict too. If we would do anything wrong, he would not spare us. The Granthi laughed as he remembered fondly, being disciplined by Bindranwala. Did he call you by your first names? I asked. Yes. But we called him Santji, or Babaji. Not by his first name, to show respect. Would you say he was growing in his spiritual power during that time? He had always made a strong impression on people, even before he was Santji. He was the only person that virtually everybody respected. Even Sant Karta Singh Ji, he would not treat Sant Jarnail Singh Ji as a student or a disciple, but as an equal, a real Gursikh. He felt his power. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji had so much respect for Guru Bani and Guru. Once I know we were sleeping in the same room, and we used to just lie on the floor rather than using beds. There were some prayer books up in the rafters, and one time one somehow got loose and fell down at Sant Jarnail Singh Ji's feet. He was sleeping and didn't realize what had happened. When he got up and saw the book lying by his feet, he cried, "This is an insult to Guru Bani, how could I do that?" He was very disturbed about this and wouldn't eat or sleep. Sant Karta Singh Ji went to him and said, "Jarnail Singh, this is not your mistake. You didn't do anything wrong." But Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was in such pain, that he read the whole of the Guru Granth Sahib as an apology. You only love Guru Bani like that when you know it has provided you so much. There are some people who respect it for nothing, it's just a gesture. Just because of tradition they bow before it. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was not tradition. He was the living image of Guru Bani. If you wanted to see some Sikh out of the Guru Granth Sahib, Sant Jarnail Singh Ji was the one. Amarjit added, in a mood of nostalgia, Sant Jarnail Singh was such a gentle man, a very loving and spiritual person. Everybody felt this from him. You would have really liked to know him. Iqbal Singh continued. On April 13, 1978, I was part of the Jathar, or brigade, who went to stop the Nirankaris. The Sant Nirankaris are a sect who believe in a living guru, and are rejected by Khalsa Sikhs as blasphemous. That was really the beginning of the movement, so I'll tell you about this incident. I was there, I was an eyewitness. We were staying in Gurudwara, Gurdarshan Prakash, which had become Santji's headquarters in Amritsar. A group of Sikhs came and told Santji that there was an Nirankari, Gobichan Singh, who was going to lead a procession in Amritsar, and who was saying that on this day, April 13, Guru Gobind Singh created the Panch Pyaras, 5 beloved ones, and that he would now create the Sat Sitaras, or 7 stars. Santji got really upset listening to that, it being Vaisakhi Day and in the city which is the heart of Sikhism and all. Let me say this very clearly. If anybody wants to have his own religion, I don't think Sikhs have any problem with that. But when he is challenging the basic philosophy of the Sikhs, when he is actually naming Guru Gobind Singh and suggesting that he is the equivalent of that Guru, that is a direct challenge to our deepest beliefs. If he were saying something else, anything else, that was not directly against the Sikh religion, Santji would be pleased that he should do whatever he wants. Santji used to tell a Hindu to be a better Hindu, a Muslim to be a better Muslim, and so on. But this person challenged the very basis of Sikhism, and Santji got really upset. I know about this because I followed Santji when he went over to Manji Sahib Diwan Hall, a huge auditorium, that can fit several thousand people. He spoke to the Sikhs for 15 minutes, and very clearly laid out the situation. I interrupted. How many followers did they have, the Nirankaris? There were thousands of them, all over India. How can you account for the attraction? Why did so many people join the Nirankaris? Since the Sikh religion came into existence, the Hindu, the Brahmin that is, the highest caste of the Hindu system, always tried to divide us into sections. Divide and destroy. Let me tell you one incident which related to me personally. One of my brothers came to me at one point, and said that he wanted to cut his hair. I asked why. He said that there were some actors coming to do a play in our village, and they wanted to give him a role. I told him that he could cut it if he wanted to, but that he could not come back in the house afterward. See, it was the policy of those people that they wanted to convert those boys who were Amritdhari Sikhs. They would attract them to quit living like an Amritdhari by giving them roles in plays which would require them to cut their hair and that sort of thing. They had other attractions too, like giving small businesses to their followers. You think these were purposeful manipulations? It was clearly a matter of purposeful manipulation. There was free sex and liquor involved too. They tried to lure people away from. Amarjit cut in. You have to look at the makeup of the people who joined the Nirankaris too. Either they were class 1 gazetted officers, deputy commissioners could allot land plots and all, or they were the poorest of the poor. The rich went there like they would go to a country club. They used their power to attract greater numbers from among the poor, luring them with money and other things. And the central government, which was the Janata government of Morarji Desai, started manipulating them as a way to undercut the power of Sikhism in Punjab. The sad part was that some members of this government were brought to power by Sant Karta Singh himself, in leading all those demonstrations and so on. It was very painful to see this happening in a state, where Damdami Taxal had itself made such a direct contribution. Your brother finally didn't go with them? I asked Iqbal Singh. No. In fact I went myself, and I told them that if they tried to come into our village, there would be a fight. They did try to come and in fact there was a fight. But then they did not dare come to our village for the next 4 or 5 years. Anyway, when Santji was told about the Nirankari procession on Vaisakhi Day, he tried to get a minister in the government to intervene. But he said there was nothing he could do about it. So we vowed to go there and protest openly. There was no intention of fighting. If there had been fighting on our minds, we would have prepared ourselves better. You didn't have any weapons? I asked. I later learned that this question doesn't make sense to an Amritdhari Sikh, because he or she always has the kirpan, the short sword. We were praying to God the whole time as we marched. It was not because of some kind of fear, but to show that we were intent on peacefully protesting. When we reached the Nirankaris, they started throwing cola bottles at us. Then some of them started throwing bricks and stones. Some from our group threw them back. Then the Nirankaris started firing. The police came and they also started firing at our group. Even though we were intent on having a peaceful march, 13 Sikhs got killed in that confrontation. How did you feel when you heard the shots, when you realized they were firing? We were all pushing each other back, because we had nothing, no firearms. It is not good to die without a fight. If you are in the battlefield it is all right, but not to die without standing up for yourself. We all pushed each other to go back, and some of us hid under a truck for about half an hour. Then we went back to Darbar Sahib, the Golden Temple complex. Were some of your friends killed? By Ranbir Singh Ji, he was my first teacher at Damdami Taxal, he was killed there. Baba Darshan Singh Ji was killed too, and there were others. I knew them personally. Amarjit added, those who went to protest the Nirankaris were not only from Damdami Taxal, but some members of the Akhand Kirtani Jathar went as well, a group devoted to hymn singing. Bhai Forger Singh was leading that group. Among those who got killed, some were from Damdami Taxal and some were from Akhand Kirtani Jathar. Iqbal Singh continued. Santji wanted to join us to march against the Nirankaris on that day. But 5 Sikhs got together, including Forger Singh, and they said, "No, we are ordering you to stay here." He had to obey that because of the Panch Pyaras tradition. They were concerned for his safety. I asked. Yes, they were worried about his safety. They ordered him not to go. Amarjit continued, the whole of the Indian press came out in support of the Nirankaris after that episode. Prime Minister Morarji Desai put the entire blame on the Sikhs. Not only that, but the Nirankari head was escorted safely out of Punjab. When the first information report was lodged, he was the first accused of violence, but he never got arrested. In fact, the court was moved out of Amritsar, because most of the judges would be Sikhs. Instead, the case was brought to Haryana, where the judge was a Hindu. The whole thing was heard in camera, so who knows what went on. Finally, the court acquitted all the Nirankaris, and it even passed strictures against the Punjab government for registering the case. As for the Sikhs, they waited patiently while the Nirankari case was being heard. But when the verdict came in, and they were all declared innocent, Santji said, "Okay, their justice system has failed, so now our justice system will prevail." That was why he felt we had to take matters into our own hands. The Indian courts had not lived up the promise of justice. The Granthi said, "My parents got really scared when the news came that the 13 Sikhs had gotten killed. There was one person on that list who had the same name as me, and my parents thought I had been killed. They came the next day to cremate my body." The sad part was that the Akali government, the main political party of the Sikhs, was elected because of Damdami Taksal's role in the emergency, as Dr. Amarjit Singh just said. People thought it was kind of Santji's government. When people were elected, they would ask for Santji's blessing, and they would ask him to tell people to support them. But after this episode there was not much support for Santji. People felt he had let them down, because the Akali government let them down. He didn't appear publicly for a few weeks, but he started quietly preparing himself for a fight. Well, not exactly for a fight in the literal sense, but you could say, he was just thinking for some time. He was thinking about what to do next. I prompted. Yes, he was just thinking. He was shocked. He could have expected such a thing from a Congress government, but he was stunned that an Akali government, a Sikh government, should be so weak-kneed. Then he came to the conclusion that even the Akali government was no friend of Sikhi, the Sikh way. He decided that he would have to do something for the Sikhs, because no one else would. When did you first realize, yourself, that some plan of action was in the works? I asked. It was never actually a plan of action, so to speak. What Santji started doing was baptizing people. He felt that the main task was to make people aware of Sikhi. He would not talk against the Akalis though, he just said clearly in his words and actions, "We are Sikh, we should know how to live as Sikhs." But then the Akalis started verbally abusing Santji, and these insults started going back and forth. This was how the rumor got started that Sant Bhindranwala was really a plant of the Congress government, said Amarjit. The Akalis were scared. They had had control over the whole Gurudwara system for 60 or 70 years, and then a man of charisma rose up and people started following him. They were not any match for him, so they started pushing this story that he had been bought by the Congress government to defame the Akalis. Anyway, Iqbal Singh continued, this was the background to the real rise of Sant Bhindranwala. Let me tell you about the key episode at Chandokalan, a village in Haryana state where we were staying, when some police officers came looking for Santji. They wanted to arrest him. Why did they want to arrest him? I asked, trying to follow the story. That was for the murder of Lala Jagat Narain, the owner of Hind Samachar, a chain of newspapers. He had written some very nasty things about Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and used to challenge Sikh traditions at every step. Santji had spoken against this man many times, so when he got murdered a conspiracy case was filed against him. Anyway, when the police reached the village of Chandokalan, they could not find Santji. They beat up one of my friends pretty badly. And they literally looted that whole village. They tortured the women. When they were ready to leave, they burned our 2 buses. Those buses were like a library for us students. Everything we had we kept in those buses, including prayer books and all. And the same Santji, who could not tolerate one book falling at his feet while he slept, how could he tolerate the fact that Guru Granth Sahib was burnt by the Indian government for nothing? Santji said in interviews, if the government thought that Jarnail Singh was at fault, if they wanted to arrest me, why did they go and burn the buses? Why did they burn my guru? He used to cry, literally weep, when he described that situation. On September 20 he surrendered to the police at Mehta Sahib, and was taken into Ludhiana jail. They established a court in the rest house there, and Santji was called to appear. And there was one interesting incident that took place there. What was it? There is a tradition in India that they would give you a holy book, sometimes the Bhagavad Gita, a holy book of the Hindus, and you would say that you wouldn't tell a lie in court. When Santji was there, he was asked to put his hand on Guru Bani Gutka, a Sikh prayer book instead. He said to the court officers, "What is this?" They said, "It's Guru Bani Gutka." Then Santji said, "In the constitution you call us Hindus," referring to the controversial Article 25. "But you are asking me to swear an oath on Guru Bani Gutka. Why not make me swear on the Gita?" They said, "Well, you might tell a lie then." "Look," said Santji, "you change the constitution then. Recognize me as a Sikh, and I'll happily say the oath on Guru Bani Gutka." The officers kept pushing him for 2 days, but he kept saying, either change the constitution or change the book. Finally they decided to skip the oath-taking on a book completely. That's how strong Santji was. What finally happened in court then? What was the verdict? Santji was cleared. They never found any evidence against him. Who in fact killed Lala Jagat Narain? This question slipped out before I could think about it. This was, actually, the sort of thing I did not want to know. Luckily and predictably, my interlocutors were more careful than I was. Amarjit said, 2 others were tried for that murder. But we don't know who really killed him. Iqbal Singh added, the point was that after the Narankari episode, this incident at Chandokalan really alienated Santji. He became crystal clear on the point that justice could not be expected as far as the Sikhs were concerned. Iqbal Singh continued. After that Santji came out of jail and he never went anywhere after that. He stopped his roaming around and stayed at his headquarters at the Darbar Sahib, the Golden Temple complex at Amritsar. Then the real fight began. Then go into this profession. Well, my parents resisted. They were not happy. But they eventually listened to my brother and they sent me to Damdami Taxal. I was only 11 years old. Just listening to your parents, really, I commented. Right. When you are living in a village and your parents are deciding to send you to a city, you are excited no matter what that is. I was excited to go. Especially to avoid housework. The young Granthi laughed when he said this. Tell me what it was like there, I requested. What were your first few days like? It was not really that good. After spending 1 month I called my parents up and I said, I don't want to stay. Why not? I asked. Because it was a totally different atmosphere. At my home we used to get up around 8 or 9, according to our school time. But at the Damdami Taxal, there is a discipline that you have to get up early in the morning for meditation, Nam Simran, or the repetition of the divine name. That discipline was painful. I was not used to it. I called my parents up and my brother came and deeply concerned about the society in which they live. Devout they may be, but they are not necessarily anti-modern, intolerant of others, or bent on converting everybody else to their particular brand of belief. The West is scared to death of religion, one Sikh commented at a recent seminar. This refrain echoes throughout Juergensmeyer's work, in which the West's determination to keep church and state separate, is silhouetted against a global backdrop of buoyant movements of religious nationalism. Though he may carry this theme too far in calling the global confrontation between religious nationalism and the secular state, the new Cold War, it is clear that there is a deep rift between the worldviews of most Westerners, and that of religious nationalists like Khomeini or Kahane. This rift is exacerbated by the fact that very few people in the West have occasion to sit down and talk with the likes of Khomeini or Kahane, and are dependent on the media coverage that naturally emphasizes dramatic acts of violence over conciliatory dialogue. There is in fact a large common ground between secular and religious kinds of nationalism, though differences cannot be swept aside. I found in my long talks with Sikhs, that some of the most interesting and enlightened of them were also the most Fighting for Faith and Nation, Dialogues with Sikh Militants, by Cynthia Kepply Mahmood. A Saint Soldier. Mark Juergensmeyer suggests the term religious nationalism, as a descriptor of the many politicized religious revival movements across the globe. Militant Islam is prominent, in its myriad forms from North Africa to the Middle East, to Central Asia to the Pacific, but other movements include the Hindu revitalization now being expressed in India, the Sinhalese Buddhist nationalism in Sri Lanka, the right-wing Jewish militancy in Israel and the West, and more. Though not all the movements that entangle religion and politics aim at the creation of a state, e.g., the U.S. Christian variety, enough of them seek to either establish or transform one that the term religious nationalism is a fortunate one. It has the crucial advantage of being more effectively neutral than fundamentalism, with its connotations of backwardness, intolerance, and zealotry. Juergensmeyer notes in the New Cold War, religious nationalism confronts the secular state, that the religious activists with whom he speaks in various parts of the world, are politically astute religious. One Granthi, or scripture reader in particular, was an archetypical fundamentalist, in that his education was primarily religious in nature, he was a strict Puritan in terms of day-to-day ethics, and he brooked no challenges to orthodox readings of the Sikh scriptures. But he also had quite a universalist and pragmatic understanding of what Sikhism was, and what a Sikh state could be. His story is interesting not only because of his intelligence and eloquence, which he expressed in fluent English, but because he had grown up with Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwala, essentially the founder of the Khalistani militancy. I met him early in my research, and I remember the conversation that took place between us vividly. It shows both the potential for real interaction with religious nationalists, as well as some of the problematic differences between this way of thinking and our own. The Moving University. My name is Iqbal Singh, he began our interview session, from Amritsar. I was born in December 1962. My family background was not very religious. My father and mother were Sikhs, but they would go to the Gurudwara only about once a month. But my elder brother decided to go and learn more about Sikhism. We have a school of Sikh theology called Damdami Taksal, which is in Bhattinder district. He went and studied there. How did you feel when he made the decision to go? I asked. I was too young to feel anything. I was only 6 years old when he went there. But we were very comfortable financially, so I couldn't understand why he decided to go on that path. Anyway, after spending 6 or 7 years there, he moved to Bombay to start his career as a Granthi in a Gurudwara. I was then in 7th grade. He called up my parents and said that I should learn Gurmat, or Sikh religious teachings. He was not making any money, but he said he felt mentally satisfied, and he wanted me to feel the same. I still have the letter that he wrote to me at that time. Iqbal, he said, I meet so many doctors, engineers, and other rich people, but I don't see any peace of mind anywhere. I see myself with my 400 rupees a month, and I feel very comfortable because at least I have peace of mind. I don't want you to become a doctor or an engineer. If you really want a happy life,